Hi, my name is Riley, and I'm 32 years old. I serve in the United States Air Force, in a role most people don't ask too many questions about, and honestly, that's easier for everyone. But before I tell you how my quiet, disciplined life collided with a truth I never expected, you need to understand where I come from and why the people closest to me were always the ones who underestimated me the most. People say family shapes who you become. In my case, mine shaped me by showing me exactly what I never wanted to be. I grew up in a small suburban neighborhood outside Denver, Colorado. Nothing fancy, just a quiet street, trimmed lawns, and families who waved at each other across driveways. From the outside, we looked like any other normal American family. But the real picture was very different. I was the older daughter, the responsible one, the child who never caused trouble, who remembered schedules, who didn't talk back, who got straight A's without anyone checking on my homework. I learned early how to take care of myself. No one asked me if I needed help because everyone assumed I didn't. And then there was Megan, my younger sister, the dramatic one, the pretty one, the one everyone paid attention to even when she wasn't doing anything worth noticing. My parents, Richard and Sandra, were not bad people, but Megan always came first, whether they meant it or not. She was the one who needed support, who needed guidance, who needed someone to bail her out of trouble. Guess who that someone always was?
Me.
If Megan forgot a school project until the night before, I stayed up and finished it. If she overspent her allowance and needed money for lunch, I covered it. If she broke a rule and got grounded, I somehow ended up helping her through her outrage or her tears. And when we got older, things only got worse. Megan went through phases: fashion design, photography, real estate classes, half-finished college semesters, you name it. She never stuck to anything, and every time she failed or quit, the entire world was expected to cushion her fall. Especially me. Our parents didn't realize what they were doing, or maybe they did and ignored it, but every time Megan stumbled, I became the safety net. And every time I achieved something, it was met with silence, or worse, comparison. Riley doesn't need help. She's strong. Riley always figures things out. Riley's independent. Megan is the sensitive one. It took me years to realize that being labeled strong is just another way of saying you don't get to fall apart. By the time I was 18, I was tired of carrying everyone else's weight. I wanted structure, order, a life where effort actually meant something. So I enlisted in the Air Force. My parents acted proud, but I could see the confusion in their faces. They had no idea why I chose a life so different from theirs. Megan, on the other hand, laughed. She said, "So what do you do? Carry clipboards for pilots? Bring coffee during briefings? Are you like the Air Force Gofer?" She meant it as a joke. My parents smiled awkwardly. I swallowed it like I swallowed everything else. Because that's what I did, I endured. Over the years, I built a life with discipline and purpose. I trained hard, earned my role, followed orders, and learned to stay quiet about the parts of my job that weren't meant to be discussed. The Air Force gave me stability, something I never had at home. But even as I grew, Megan stayed the same. She drifted from one guy to another, one job to another, always expecting someone to save her from herself. And more times than I care to admit, that someone was me. I didn't know then that one day, one single moment, would flip our roles completely. That the sister who mocked my uniform would watch her world fall apart in front of her. And that for the first time in our lives, I wouldn't catch her. But that night was still far away. Before everything changed, before the engagement dinner, before the humiliation, before the truth came out, there was just me. Riley, the daughter who held everything together. The sister who always stayed quiet. The woman who learned early that love is often measured in how much you're willing to sacrifice. And I sacrificed a lot. Little did I know soon I would learn the cost of staying silent. If there's one thing the Air Force taught me, it's that silence can be power, especially when people expect you to defend yourself. When I joined, I didn't know exactly where I belonged or what I was capable of, but I knew I wanted a life where discipline mattered more than drama. And for the first time, I was surrounded by people who saw value in consistency, focus, and quiet strength. My daily routine on base became a rhythm I depended on. Early morning PT, while the sky was still tinted gray, the cold air slicing through my lungs as we ran in formation. Then came intel briefings, mission reviews, and the constant hum of secure communication channels. Everything had purpose. Everything had structure. I thrived in it. My role was specialized, one of those positions where the details are never discussed outside the right rooms. We worked behind sealed doors, analyzing patterns, tracking signals, supporting missions long before boots ever touched the ground. It wasn't glamorous, but it mattered. It protected people. And for the first time in my life, so did I. Major Collins, my commanding officer, was the kind of leader who didn't need to raise his voice to make a point. He appreciated my precision, my reliability, my silence, qualities most people overlooked. When he said, "Good work, Riley," it felt like more validation than anything I'd heard growing up. On base, I wasn't the backup option. I wasn't the fixer. I wasn't the forgotten older sister. I was simply competent, trusted, essential. But outside that base, in the civilian world, things were very different. Megan never really understood what I did, and she never tried to. Whenever I came home for holidays, birthdays, or family dinners, she made sure to remind me of where she thought I stood. "Oh, look, here comes our Air Force hero," she would say in a sing-song voice, dripping with sarcasm. Or, "Riley, do you actually do anything important, or is your job just top secret because it's boring?" Every time I tried to mention a promotion or an award, she found a way to brush it aside. "That's cute. But you're not actually flying planes, right? You're more like admin stuff." Her favorite insult, though, the one she repeated every chance she got, was that I was basically a gopher. "Guys, you know what Riley does?" she'd announce loudly at family gatherings. "She runs around with files and messages. Literally a gopher in uniform." My parents never corrected her, never defended me, never even asked what I really did. They would laugh awkwardly or change the subject, pretending it wasn't a big deal. But it was. Because every time Megan said it, something inside me tightened. I didn't need applause or praise, but a little recognition, just a sliver of respect, would have meant something. Still, I stayed quiet. I reminded myself of my training. Stay composed, stay focused, stay professional. The Air Force didn't teach me to fight with family, just to endure. And I convinced myself that protecting Megan, supporting her, helping her, was part of being the strong one. Grace, my best friend on base, didn't buy it. She'd roll her eyes and say, "Riley, you need boundaries. That girl treats you like you're her emotional punching bag." I brushed it off. "It's not that bad," I'd tell her. But Grace always raised an eyebrow in that way that told me she didn't believe a word. The truth was, I didn't want to admit how much Megan's words hurt. How they chipped at me little by little. How they made me feel like no matter how much I grew, how far I ran, or how much I achieved, back home, I would always be the girl standing in Megan's shadow. But something inside me was shifting. Maybe it was the years in uniform. Maybe it was the responsibility I carried every single day. Maybe it was realizing my worth didn't come from the people who refused to see it. Whatever it was, I didn't know then that I was getting closer and closer to a moment that would change everything, for me, for Megan, and for the fragile bond we called family. And that moment arrived the night of Megan's engagement dinner. The night my uniform, my patch, and the truth she never wanted to see would finally force her world, and mine, to collide. The night of Megan's engagement dinner felt strangely quiet as I drove toward the upscale event hall her fiancé's family had rented. My uniform rested neatly against my skin, perfectly pressed, every ribbon and insignia in its exact place. I didn't wear it often outside base, but tonight, I had been invited as the bride's older sister, and I wanted to show up with respect. Besides, Logan, Megan's soon-to-be husband, was an Army Ranger officer. Wearing my uniform felt appropriate, almost symbolic, like meeting another service member with the dignity our professions deserved. What I didn't know was that tonight, this uniform, specifically one small patch sewn on my shoulder, would upend the entire evening. The moment I stepped inside, warm yellow lighting washed over the crowded hall. Elegant white tablecloths, sparkling glasses, soft orchestral music playing in the background. It was beautiful, more extravagant than anything our family had ever hosted. People mingled in clusters, laughter spilling like champagne. My heels clicked softly on the polished floor as I walked toward the center of the room. Heads turned, not in a dramatic way, but in that subtle, respectful way people respond when they see military dress blues. For a second, I felt proud, seen, acknowledged, and then Megan appeared. She walked toward me in a stunning silver dress, her hair curled perfectly, her smile wide, until she got close enough to recognize my uniform. Her expression flickered, irritation breaking through the polished excitement on her face. "Oh my God, Riley," she whispered sharply, though still loud enough for others to hear. "Did you really have to wear that tonight? Couldn't you just wear a normal dress like everyone else?" I blinked. "Megan, it's an engagement dinner. And Logan is Army. Wearing my uniform is—"
Yeah.
"Whatever." She cut in, rolling her eyes. "Just don't make it about you, okay?" I almost laughed.
Me?
Making anything about myself? The idea was absurd. Before I could answer, Logan approached with a bright, easy smile. He really did look the part, clean-cut hair, broad shoulders, posture sharp as a blade. He extended his hand to shake mine, his eyes warm. "Riley, right? I've heard a lot about you," he said. I wondered immediately what he had heard. Knowing Megan, probably nothing good. "Nice to finally meet you," I said politely. He glanced at my uniform with interest. "So, you're in the Air Force?" Here it was, the usual question. Simple, straightforward. And normally I would have answered calmly, maybe even proudly. But before a single word left my mouth, Megan inserted herself right between us, linking her arm through Logan's dramatically. "Yeah," she said with a laugh. "She's Air Force, but don't take her too seriously." Logan raised an eyebrow, confused. "What do you mean?" Megan swung her hair and delivered her favorite dagger, loud enough for several nearby guests to hear. "She's basically just a gopher, babe. You know, running around with files and messages doing little tasks in offices. Not like a real field job or anything." There were chuckles. Actual chuckles. My chest tightened, but I kept my face blank. I had been through training that stripped emotions down to muscle memory. I had learned how to breathe through discomfort, stand still through humiliation, and smile when others expected silence. But something inside me splintered anyway. Logan didn't laugh. Instead, his eyes drifted downward, slowly, carefully, to the patch on my left shoulder. A small, subdued insignia. One most people would ignore. But not someone who had ever worked closely with elite units. His smile faded. His posture stiffened. He took a half step back, staring at the patch as if seeing it under a microscope. "Wait," he said quietly. Is that what I think it is?" Megan blinked.
What?
"That ugly little thing?" She flicked her hand dismissively. "Oh, please. Don't tell me you're impressed." But Logan didn't look at her. Not even for a second.
He looked at me.
His voice dropped lower, almost respectful. "Riley, what exactly do you do in the Air Force?" For a long moment, no one moved. Even the music felt muted. I gave him the same calm, practiced answer I always did. "I work in intelligence." He nodded slowly, understanding more than what I said aloud. "Which division?" he asked, though his eyes already told me he knew. "Special Operations Support," I replied quietly. There it was. The truth Megan never cared to learn. The truth she never bothered to ask about. Logan stepped straight, shoulders pulled back, his entire demeanor shifting into professional respect. "Thank you for your service," he said firmly. People turned. Silence grew. Megan's smile froze, confusion tightening around her eyes. "What?" she whispered, looking between us. "What's going on? Why are you acting weird?" But Logan didn't answer her. He just kept staring at the patch, the one she mocked without understanding. In that moment, in the middle of her own engagement celebration, Megan was finally realizing something she had ignored her whole life. I wasn't the shadow she thought I was. I wasn't the backup sister. I wasn't the family's silent workhorse. I was someone she never truly saw. And this was the night everything would start to unravel. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through my apartment blinds, but the weight in my chest felt anything but light. I hadn't slept much. Scenes from the engagement dinner kept replaying in my mind. The laughter, Megan's voice cutting like a blade, and then the stunned silence when Logan realized who I actually was. It wasn't the humiliation that kept me awake. It was the look on Megan's face. The confusion. The fear of losing something she thought she deserved. Around 9 a.m., my phone buzzed with a call from Mom. The moment I picked up, Sandra's voice exploded through the speaker. "Riley, what did you do last night?" I rubbed my forehead. "Mom, what are you talking about?" "Logan just left," she said breathlessly. "He came here early this morning. He broke the engagement." I froze. Before I could speak, another voice came through the background. Loud, furious, unmistakably Megan. "This is your fault." "I know it is. You ruined everything." Then the line went dead. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the silent phone in my hand. My stomach twisted. I knew Megan would be upset. But I also knew Logan was a man who didn't tolerate disrespect, especially toward someone in uniform. He didn't break the engagement because of me. He broke it because of her behavior. Still, I also knew Megan would never see it that way. A sharp knock rattled my front door, and I suddenly understood. She wasn't done. I opened the door slowly. Megan shoved past me, her face streaked with tears, mascara smudged, hair a tangled mess, the aftermath of a night spent crying or yelling, probably both. "How could you?" she screamed, spinning to face me. "How could you destroy my life like this?" "Megan."
No.
"Don't pretend you don't know." Her voice cracked with rage. "Logan said he respected you." "Respected? Do you know how insane that sounded? He said you're in some special unit, and that I embarrassed myself by calling you a gopher." I swallowed hard. I never told him anything. He figured it out himself. "Oh, shut up," she shouted. "Of course you did something. You just couldn't handle me having one moment, where people weren't looking at you." The accusation cut deeper than it should have. If only she knew how often I tried to disappear in her shadow. "Megan, please listen." I tried again, gentler this time. "I never tried to make anything about me. I wore my uniform out of respect for him and his family." "Stop," she shrieked. "You knew exactly what you were doing." I looked at her. Really looked at her. She wasn't angry because she thought I ruined her engagement. She was angry because she had built her entire identity on being the center of attention, and last night, for the first time in her life, someone saw me instead of her. Her breathing grew unsteady. "He said I don't respect people. He said I treat others badly. He said he couldn't marry someone who mocks her own sister." She wiped her face roughly. "I lost him because of you." "I'm sorry this happened," I said quietly. "But Megan, you did that. Not me." "Wrong words." Her face twisted.
No.
"You think you're so perfect, so strong. Little Miss Air Force. Guess what? I don't need you. I don't need any of you. Megan." "You've always been jealous of me," she screamed. "You hate seeing me happy. That's why you ruined my one good thing." She marched toward the door, then stopped and turned back with a stare that felt colder than anything I'd faced in uniform. "We're done," she said. "I don't want a sister who destroys everything she touches. I don't ever want to see you again." And with that, she walked out of my apartment and out of my life. I didn't chase her. Not this time. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to fix her problems.
Didn't beg her to stay.
Didn't carry the blame she tried to shove on me. I just stood there, stunned by the silence she left behind. Because a part of me knew something no one else seemed willing to face. That wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning. The beginning of Megan learning what real life looked like without someone to hold her up. And the beginning of me finally letting go of a burden I never should have carried. I wish I could say Megan's words didn't bother me. I wish I could pretend I simply walked back into my apartment, drank a cup of coffee, and carried on with my day like nothing happened. But the truth is, even after everything, she was still my sister. And hearing her say she never wanted to see me again hit somewhere deep, somewhere I didn't even realize was still vulnerable. Still, I kept my promise to myself. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I didn't offer to help fix the mess she created. For the first time in my life, I stepped back and let the consequences play out exactly as reality intended. And reality came fast. Within a week, Mom called me, her voice thin and shaky. "Sweetheart, have you heard from Megan? She moved out." Moved out. I wasn't surprised. Megan always acted first and planned later. She probably found some cute little apartment she couldn't afford, some fantasy of independence she thought would magically work out. "I haven't heard from her," I said simply. There was silence on the line. Then Mom sighed. "Your father thinks she needs space. I hope that's true. I hope she's okay." But even then, I could tell my mother didn't truly believe Megan was okay. No one did. 2 weeks later, Megan finally broke her silence indirectly. A notification popped up on my phone. It was Grace texting me a screenshot. "Isn't this your sister?" The image showed a post from Megan's Instagram story. "Aesthetic apartment hunt. New beginnings. #independent life." She stood in a half-empty apartment with big windows, posing like a lifestyle influencer, hiding chaos behind a smile. I stared at the picture for a long time. It wasn't independence. It was denial. For a while, she kept up the act. Selfies, coffee cups, new chapter captions. But social media filters can only hide the truth for so long. Because the real updates came from Mom, who didn't know how to keep the worry out of her voice. "Riley, she missed her rent. Her landlord called us. She's behind on utilities. She quit another job. She borrowed money from your aunt. She's not answering anyone." It was like watching a slow-motion crash. And I hated that part of me wanted to step in and fix it. Old habits die hard. But every time I thought about reaching out, Grace's voice echoed in my mind. "Riley, if you save her again, she'll never learn." And deep down, I knew she was right. Megan's life spiraled faster than I expected. Reality wasn't soft with her. It wasn't patient. It didn't care about her dramatic speeches or pretty dresses or Instagram poses. Reality asked for rent, bills, discipline, stability, and Megan had none. After another month, Mom finally broke. "Riley, she came by the house today," she whispered. She looked different. Different. Meaning tired. Meaning broken. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. A week later, it happened. I was walking toward the base entrance after my shift when I saw a familiar figure sitting on the small bench outside the visitor center. Shoulders hunched, hair messy, clothes wrinkled, eyes swollen from crying. Megan. She stood up the moment she saw me, but her confidence, her signature arrogance was gone. Completely gone. She looked like someone who had finally run face first into the truth she had spent years avoiding. "Riley," her voice cracked. I didn't move closer. Not because I didn't care, but because I needed to hear what she came to say. I needed her to speak without expecting me to catch her. She lowered her head. I messed up. Silence rushed between us like wind. "I can't do this alone," she whispered. "Life isn't." She stopped, swallowing hard. "It isn't what I thought. People aren't what I thought. Jobs, bills, everything is harder when you don't have someone to fall back on." Her eyes lifted to mine, shimmering with tears. "I treated you horribly. I know that. I said awful things. I blamed you for everything even when nothing was your fault. And I know you didn't ruin my engagement. I did." Hearing her say it out loud hit me harder than I expected. "I'm sorry, Riley," she said finally. "I'm so sorry." And in that moment, standing outside the Air Force Base, the evening sun sinking behind her, it was the first time in her entire life Megan looked like she understood the weight of her choices. She wasn't the golden child anymore. She wasn't the center of attention. She wasn't the dramatic girl everyone rescued. She was just human, broken,
Flawed.
and finally honest. And for the first time ever, she wasn't asking me to fix her. She was asking me to see her. For a long moment, Megan just stood there, fragile in a way I had never seen before. The girl who once floated through life with glittering confidence now looked like someone who had been stripped down to her most human self. No attitude. No makeup-perfect smile. No shield of entitlement. Just Megan, the real Megan. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I nodded, but I didn't move closer. I needed distance, not physical, but emotional. Years of being the older sister, the fixer, the one who always stepped forward, it had drained me in ways I never admitted. This time, I needed her to meet me halfway. We ended up sitting on the bench she had occupied earlier. The air was cool, the evening sky fading into soft hues of purple and orange. Cars passed through the base gate while the flags rustled gently above us. Life kept moving, even as we paused. Megan rubbed her hands together nervously. "I know I hurt you. I know I've hurt you for years, not just recently." She glanced at me, then away. "I think I've always believed you'd just stay, no matter what I did. Because you always did." Truth stings when it's honest. "I depended on that," she continued, her voice breaking. "I depended on you being the strong one. The one who cleaned up my mistakes. The one who kept everything together. And I didn't realize how selfish that was until I had no one left to blame but myself." She blinked back tears. "And then Logan, when he told me he respected you more than me, it felt like my whole world flipped upside down. It wasn't just losing him, it was realizing why I lost him." My throat tightened, but I stayed quiet. I needed to hear it all. "He said I didn't understand respect," she whispered. "He said I didn't know how to treat people who loved me. And he was right." She swallowed hard. "Riley, I mocked you. I humiliated you in front of him, in front of so many people. And I never even asked what you really did, or how hard you worked, or what your life was actually like." She looked at me then, really looked. "You're so much stronger than I ever gave you credit for." Silence hung between us again, heavy but healing. I exhaled slowly. "Megan, you hurt me. A lot. For a long time. I carried responsibilities that weren't mine. I kept saving you because I thought that was love." My voice steadied. "But love without boundaries isn't healthy. For either of us." Her chin trembled. "I know." She wiped a tear with the back of her hand. "I'm not asking you to fix my life. I'm not asking you to take me back the way things were. I'm just asking for another chance. To be a better sister. A real sister." The sincerity in her voice was something I had never heard before from her. It wasn't dramatic or performative. It was raw, honest, vulnerable. And for the first time, I didn't feel responsible for holding her together. "I want that too," I said quietly. "But Megan, things can't go back to the old way. I won't be your safety net anymore. I won't carry your mistakes or let you drag me down with you." She nodded immediately. "I know. I don't want that either." We sat in stillness again, the kind that doesn't hurt, just breathes. Then, unexpectedly, Megan reached out and gently held my hand. Not in desperation, not in entitlement, but in gratitude. "I'm getting therapy," she said softly. "Trying to find a stable job. Trying to grow up. It's hard, but I'm doing it." That made me smile, just a little. "Good. I'm glad. And maybe," she added shyly, "sometime we can get coffee? Talk? Not about problems. Just talk." I nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." When she stood to leave, she hesitated, then stepped forward and hugged me. A real hug. Not shallow or dramatic or manipulative. Just warm. Honest. Human. "I love you, Riley," she whispered. I closed my eyes. "I love you too." As she walked away, I didn't feel the old heaviness anymore. No burden. No responsibility. Just hope. For her. For us. For the sisterhood we were finally learning to build. Not on dependency, not on guilt, but on something real. Healing didn't happen overnight. It came slowly, in small moments. Text messages, short visits, honest conversations, little signs that we were rebuilding something healthier than we'd ever known. And this time, we were doing it together. 2 months later, I stood in front of the mirror in my apartment, adjusting the collar of my dress blues. The fabric felt heavier today, not because of nerves, but because of what it represented. Every long night, every classified briefing, every mission support shift that ended with more questions than answers. Every day, I chose discipline over comfort, service over ease, silence over recognition. Today was my promotion ceremony, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was stepping into a moment that truly belonged to me. As I drove to the base, the early morning sun washed the sky in shades of gold and amber. The air felt crisp, almost celebratory. I kept thinking about how far I'd come, from the girl who blended into corners of family dinners to the woman who earned respect through quiet, relentless work. When I arrived at the hall, I saw familiar faces gathering, uniforms polished, medals shining, families smiling proudly. Grace waved at me from across the room, practically bouncing with excitement. "You look incredible," she said, giving me a quick hug. "Promotion to Master Sergeant. Riley, this is huge." I smiled, my heart settling into a steady beat. "Feels surreal." "Feels deserved," she corrected. Major Collins approached next, offering a firm handshake that carried years of mentorship, expectations, and unspoken respect. "Ready for today, Sergeant?" he asked. "Yes, sir," I said, standing a little taller. But as the room filled, my eyes drifted toward the entrance, almost unconsciously. I didn't expect anyone from my family to show up. Mom and Dad had made excuses. Dad had a meeting. Mom said she wasn't sure how these things work. They meant well, but they'd never fully understood my world. I didn't blame them. I also didn't expect anything different. But then, the doors opened softly, and Megan walked in. Not overdressed. Not seeking attention. Not hiding behind makeup or filters. Just Megan. Simple jeans, a soft sweater, hair pulled back, eyes bright with something I had never seen from her before, genuine pride. She spotted me and offered a small, nervous smile. The kind you give when you're stepping into someone else's world with respect instead of entitlement. I felt something warm press against my chest. She didn't wave dramatically. She didn't rush to me. She just found a quiet spot near the back, present, supportive, and unmistakably different from the girl I grew up with. The ceremony began. Names were called, ranks were pinned, applause echoed off the walls. When it was my turn, I stepped forward, heart pounding in steady rhythm. Major Collins spoke into the microphone. "Some service members earn recognition through volume. Others earn it through consistency, precision, and integrity that never wavers. Master Sergeant Riley has been one of the quiet pillars of this unit. Her work has saved lives, though she'll never talk about it, and her loyalty has strengthened every person who's had the privilege of working alongside her." My throat tightened, not from pride, but from finally feeling seen. As he pinned my new rank, the hall erupted in applause. Grace cheered. My teammates stood tall. And at the back of the room, Megan clapped with both hands, tears gathering in her eyes. After the ceremony, she approached me slowly. "You look amazing," she whispered. "Riley, I'm so proud of you." "Thank you," I said softly. She hesitated, then took a small step closer. "I wanted to be here today. Not because I felt obligated. Because I wanted you to know I see you now. Really see you." Something inside me loosened. Years of tension, pain, misunderstandings melting just a little more. I smiled. "I'm glad you came." We hugged, steady, warm, unforced. No drama, no guilt, no shadows. Just two sisters choosing each other again. And as we pulled apart, Megan wiped a tear and whispered, "You've always carried everyone. Today, let us carry you." For the first time in a long time, I let her. When the ceremony ended and the hall began to empty, I stepped outside into the quiet evening air. The sky had shifted into a soft gradient of blue and fading gold, the breeze warm against my face. For a moment, I just stood there, letting everything settle. The promotion, the applause, the unexpected peace humming in my chest. Megan walked out beside me, hands tucked into her sleeves, a calm smile on her face. We didn't speak right away. We didn't need to. There was a new language between us now, one built from honesty rather than habit, growth instead of guilt. As we stood near my car, she looked at me and said, "You know, I always thought strength was loud,
Big.
dramatic. But watching you, your strength has always been quiet." She exhaled shakily. I just didn't know how to appreciate that. I swallowed the knot rising at the back of my throat. Not because her words hurt, but because for the first time, they healed. I smiled at her softly. Strength isn't supposed to make noise, Megan. Sometimes it's just surviving the moments no one sees. She nodded, eyes glimmering. Thank you for giving me another chance. I squeezed her shoulder gently. Thank you for taking it. Watching her walk to her car, steady and grounded, I realized something. We weren't who we used to be. I wasn't a silent backbone holding everything together. And she wasn't the girl who crumbled without someone to catch her. We were two women finally learning how to stand on our own, and, slowly, how to stand beside each other. As I drove home, the weight of the past years felt lighter than it had in a long time. I had spent so much of my life believing love meant endurance, sacrifice, silence. But life, real life, had taught me something else entirely. Love isn't carrying someone until you break. Love is knowing when to step back until they learn to walk. And strength? Strength isn't measured by how much you can hold. It's measured by how gently you can let go. That night, as I hung my new rank on the wall above my desk, I whispered to myself, I finally chose me. And maybe, just maybe, that was the moment I truly became free. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories every week. Your support means the world, and it helps these stories reach more people who might need them.